Hello and welcome back to TGR Presents The Gamer's Tale. I am your Dungeon Master for the evening, Trent Gander. I am joined by our new host, the Legends Kid, Kieran. Say hello, Kieran.
Hey guys.
Alright, tonight on The Gamer's Tale, we're going to have ourselves a nice little chat. We're going to cover some RPG news, a little bit of the history of role-playing, and Kieran and I are going to chat back and forth some classic games that we've been playing and games we've been playing recently, and go on a diatribe if it all goes well. Okay. The first thing that I researched after getting off the decidedly lonely last episode where I had no co-host, we had Cryptomancer. Yeah. A new RPG coming out. It's called Cryptomancer. Though I saw on Facebook today that it's released, but according to the news site that I was checking out, Cryptomancer is only supposed to come out in August, and it's June. This is weird. Anyway, it's supposed to come out in print on demand and in PDF in August. It's in a fantasy setting augmented by technology equivalent to our current level. So they have something called a shardscape, which is like the magical internet. So it's not like how we have it now, but it's magical, which really makes no sense. You have to create and maintain a safe house and get and maintain cells of spies and political assassins because you're being watched by like a shadow organization is watching your every move and making sure that you do, I'm going to put this in air quotes, what's right. And they're enforcing that with their shadowy operatives. So in reality, this is like the Matrix mixed with the old RPG Shadowrun in 1984. Yeah.
It's a good representation.
Yeah. It's like you're being watched. You somehow are doing stuff within a magical. One of the examples they had was that it's like you have to hack into something and it has a firewall, but since it's magic, it could actually be a wall of fire. So yeah, it sounds interesting to me, at least, mainly because I like esoteric and odd platforms. Next up after that, unless you have any comments on it, Kieran.
I don't like I said earlier. I don't know anything about this this game, so I'm just kind of listening and enjoying what you got to say.
All right, I don't know about that. Okay, the next one is God's Fall: Swords and Superheroes, which will tie into another topic from last week that hopefully we'll get to this week as well. Now that we have another opinion and voice, it's a D&D add-on from Kickstarter. You get 36 gods, levels 1 through 20, to add on to it. I also have a few maps of the world and the remaining cities, because apparently the gods had a giant fight and some of them died, but didn't die permanently. Their magic is roaming around looking for a new host, and the gods that survived are now interacting with the world that is currently being inhabited by people and all the elves and stuff like that. So they will be, in addition, not only to the magic that you would normally have, you also have possibility of making on your character sheet being one of the individuals being a deity. So you got whatever it is you have in Dungeons and Dragons, but they're also a god.
Well, deities were always a part of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's like never as close an interaction unless the dungeon master says so, or you're just playing D&D online.
Okay, that's good to know. I would assume that there would be a deity involved, because most like good stories and stuff have some sort of form of religion in them for realism, since
Oh yeah, of course. Well, you can't really have a cleric if you don't have God.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna break my usually PG rating for this But reminds me of a video skit where they had Andre the Giant come over and play D&D with his cousin, and he wanted to be Andre the Giant. And in the course of time, he's getting the clerics to, like, rob the tavern and stuff. Says, "What about you? What about your gods, cleric? Or the gods of law and order?" And Andre the Giant says, "The only gods in this world are bitches and money." I accept. I accept Andre the Giant's gods wholeheartedly and take some of the money from the cash register of the tavern as well. It's like, yep, hasn't changed.
That's actually good. I need to look that up later.
Yeah, you should. It's quite amusing. All right, so other than being like 30 to 40 other add-ons, in addition to Storm God's Thunder, which also has a similar thing as God's Fall for D&D add-ons, there's not much else on the RPG side of news. Other than that, after getting my PC back and trying to play War Thunder, I found I have to update a driver because the frames per second will not get past 2 frames per second, and it's a fast-paced game, which is not.
Oh, 2 frames per second. You're kidding. You're kidding.
No, usually it's stuck on 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And this is live action. People are coming to take you out as you sit there. I could barely move on the map that I tried it out on.
Damn, like 12 frames.
Did we just lose Kieran?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, you cut
My
out there.
stupid phone went AWOL on me.
Yeah, so if he cuts out, it's because he's on his phone. Don't judge him.
No, it was just an alarm. I set it up earlier and I totally didn't think to turn it off. My bad. I am so sorry.
I'll take what from Diary of the Sith Chick says. This is a crap show. It's entertaining, but we'll give you some good information.
Hey, we can easily cut it out. No big deal.
Oh no. All right. We're going to touch on the history of fantasy role playing. We're going to go to Palladium fantasy role playing. It's set in the Palladium world, and they, according to Wikipedia, they get really mad at you when you use the term Palladia, so don't use it. The setting is 10,000 years after the dwarves and elves have had a giant cataclysmic war. The second edition uses their Megaversal rule set, which is used throughout their other games, and is within their own society, like the generic role-playing rules. They offer different races, such as orcs, trolls, and changelings. In the realm of chaos, or the age of chaos, because the Palladium world is separated into several ages, the old ones, based on Lovecraft's fiction, rule the world, and out of them spring the elves, the titans, and the changelings, and they're the only ones left. But in the course of time, the dragons, who apparently were a slave race to the old ones, rebel and take over, causing the destruction of the old ones. And the Age of Chaos, as it was referred to, is a land of feral magic. So there's magic coming out of every pore, and it's just raw and grim. Next, after that, is the Age of Light. It has a high latency of magic, and humans are then introduced into the world, and religious wars abound among the gods. After this, there is Time of 1,000 Magics, where the magic isn't as powerful as the Age of Light was, but there's more specialities and more diversity among them, such as the elves become more powerful because they are inherently magical, apparently, and the rune magics of the dwarves are developed, where they trap souls into indestructible objects. At this point in the time of Palladium's eras, the dwarves and elves have a throwdown, and 10,000 years later, we have the setting. And I mentioned the Megaversal system of it uses roll under percentiles and damage rolls and high rolls and saving rolls and stuff like that. So very much the basic things that you would expect in a RPG, even just a stereotypical one. Uh, and that ends my notes for the pretty much the news and the covering of historical RPGs. So I'm going to take that and spin it into a concept that I brought up last week, which was there was a blogger. He asked if politics should take more of a role in RPGs. Now, last week I specified that it was not actual politics and not actual anything related to the political races here in the States or anywhere else in the world. But within the realm of an RPG, how important is politics? Should it take a larger role? You heard my opinion last week, which was there's always been politics. It's a major factor to a good story. It's important, and you can't really say it needs to take more of a role because it's always been there as one of the moving forces to why you're in the RPG. So I just want to ask Kieran what he thinks about politics in RPGs.
Well, my opinion resides along yours, but in a little bit of a different twist. Now, if you're talking about board games or just RPGs in general, like a pencil and paper, such as Dungeons and Dragons, which is something I play, I think that's up to the dungeon master if they want to add politics in. If they want to add it in, by all means, I think it's a really good idea. But I had started up a Dungeons and Dragons club at my school, and I never had any politics in my adventures because I was the DM, and no one ever had a problem with it. Really, all I did was I was pretty plain and simple. Okay, there's a damsel in distress and a really cool dragon, and you want to kill it, you want to get the girl, and you want to get the treasure. Usual D&D stuff. Go get it, which is usually what happened. But I think it's really crucial to that sort of thing. If you want to, it really makes it that much more interesting. But when it comes to video games, it's a cruciality when it comes to RPGs. I'm gonna take one of my favorite RPGs that's a video game, and of course many others, Skyrim. Well, I loved how there was the civil war between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. It made the game that much more fun. It made it annoying as hell to finish the main quest, but I still loved it all the same, and I still think that, Nords are still the true sons of Skyrim, that Talos is a god as much as any. But that's just my opinion, guys. I'm an orc, but I still root for the Stormcloaks.
I actually got to try out Skyrim on my cousin's 360, and my brother and I shared an account for like the 2 to 3 hours we actually ever played Skyrim, and we became red guards. We're just a red guard guy with no irises going around trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
I can explain it to you after if you'd like.
No, it's not really that important to me, but I did like playing Skyrim. It was a fantastic game. I like the sandbox style.
Oh yes, it's a fantastic game, and I can't wait for the remaster that comes out soon. But yeah, overall, I think politics are a crucial part in video game RPGs, especially MMOs. Like MMORPGs, it's got to be in there. Like Star Wars: The Old Republic, it's in there. World of Warcraft, it's in there. DDO, it's in there. All of them, they all have politics. Some video game RPGs don't have politics, which is okay by me. Like Dragon Age is a really big one with politics. I think maybe Dark Souls. That's an RPG and it doesn't have politics. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, and it's also a great game, but they suck at it. But anyways, I think politics is a very big part when it comes to RPGs because, as you said, it helps tell the story.
Well, my favorite example of last week I said that the two greatest causes for conflict within any story, especially in an RPG, are religion and politics. and I
Yeah.
think it's
Well, that's
exemplified.
yeah.
It's exemplified the best in one of my favorite things just to go read about and like just to study the in-depthness of the cultures that they made was Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer the original fantasy role-playing game. But 40,000 is kind of where it is because it's like sci-fi, it's kind of Star Warsy, but it's also gritty enough to make it a dystopia because I like that kind of thing. But you have, I mentioned this in the last one, I'm just only reiterating it because Kieran hasn't watched that to my knowledge.
Wait, which
But
one?
the last episode, episode 2 of The Gamer's Tale.
I have not. I am sorry. I will look it up after.
It's okay. I'm going to reiterate pretty much the same thing. We have both a religious and political schism in Warhammer 40,000. And that is, we have the religious side where we have the Imperium Man worshipping the God Emperor versus the powers of chaos. And the different sides are duking it out over really the religious perspective of the entire universe within Warhammer. And we have the Zealots or the Space Marines on one side, we have the Heretic Space Marines on the other, and there's the infighting between Space Marines plus all the other guys who go with them to fight for their different deities. And then we have the external forces of politics duking it out between the different races of the Eldar, the Daemons, the Orcs, and the Necrons with the race of man.
All right.
So you have those. You have pretty much in Warhammer both of the major catalysts, religion and politics, to having a very almost symbiotic relationship in respect to everyone's killing each other for roughly the same reason. It's only in a different vein. One, because the Eldar think men are apes and should be wiped off the face of the galaxy because they're a scourge, or like with Chaos, just destroy everything because it's fun.
That sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, it's fun. I saw some. They're coming out with a new third-person shooter for it. I think it possibly might be first-person shooter for online gameplay, so you don't have to have the little figurines and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It's you could play as two Space Marine groups, a blue team and a red team, of course. We're duking it out for a special area, and I forgot to mention to Kieran about this, but I do a lot of research into historical European martial arts, or HEMA.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it also gives me a bit of a gall to watching people fight and things because it's like that's totally unrealistic. And there
Yeah.
was one thing in the fight scenes where the guys are shooting each other, and the guy gets close enough to one of his opponents as he comes out. He draws this enormous Bowie knife and drags it across, holds it point down with the edge forward, and drags it across his opponent's throat and kills him. It's like, okay,
Yeah. That's not a thing.
it's kind of a thing aiming for where there's no armor, but
Yeah. Yeah. But when there's armor, it's next to impossible.
yeah, there are things, but the style blade that he had wasn't made for that kind of fighting. If it was like a spiked piece of rebar, it would probably be more realistic
Yeah.
to get through that. Anyway,
Well, I'm a sword fighter myself. I've been practicing since I was a kid. Oh, like I sparred with my sister when I was younger, and I'd use lightsabers and all that sorts of stuff. It was really fun. So
yeah,
like I do understand the Asian types of warfare, and I understand the European types of warfare. So
nice.
like I can always compare the two, and I like mixing them together.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're talking about.
Okay, good. I'm of the opinion that roughly Filipino, Asian, and European martial arts all have roughly like the same or similar moves because everyone
Yeah.
has a human body.
Well,
And
everyone's got the same moves. Even jujitsu is the same thing as taekwondo in some ways.
yeah, it's just like they name it something different. It may be differently done. There may be slight variations,
Yeah.
but it's not exactly learn one, learn them all. It's learn the
No.
concept from one, you got the concept in the other.
Yeah, it's kind of like RPGs. It's all the same concept, but there's always the add-ons. Like
Yeah.
GURPS is definitely not the same thing as D&D. I don't care what anybody says; it's not the same. Same thing for Pathfinder. It's not D&D. Like it's the same concept, but it's not. It's not the same.
Yeah. I can get that, but
Yeah, little games reference. Sorry.
yeah, that's okay. I really get irritated with some styles, especially when it's like they add certain moves and it's like it's was left out of this one style because it was ineffective, but
Yeah.
then it's still carried forward in another style because they like haven't learned that or it's been so ingrained in the tradition.
Well, what I like about Asian warfare is the thing that I don't like in European. Like, when it comes to like sword fighting, European as very well illustrated in Dark Souls because Dark Souls really illustrates European warfare. It's hacking and hammering. So if you're in the way of the blade, you're screwed. If you're not in the way of the blade, you're probably not screwed. But it's really just hacking and hammering. If you're in the line of fire, you're screwed. And you can't parry because it's not actual sword fighting. It's not like where like blade on blade, as the Asians do. But like in Asian warfare, like the katana is actually made to withstand a parry from a blade because otherwise there's just going to be nicks in like a long sword or something like that. And with actual swords that are made like that, you were supposed to go blade on blade. Or you was like you see those cool lightsaber fights in Star Wars. That's Asian warfare. That's
Really,
not European warfare. That's totally Asian,
I
which is
know.
why I like that so much because I'm a blade on blade kind of guy, so it just appeals to me.
Wow, I need to send you a link to Wiktinar because Blade on Blade is actually really into the medieval European sword fighting. They use this sword like a crowbar, and does go blade
Yeah,
on blade. And yes, it does get nicks in the
yeah.
sword, but
I've
they
done it myself because I've got a couple metal swords, and I sparred with one of my friends, and literally like his sword was wrecked, mine was not because I made mine well, but
no.
I still had to fix it up.
But it was that they said that okay, a sword is a disposable tool. Swords broke. You can get a new one because at that time they were really easy to come by.
Yeah. In my opinion, I don't really agree with that because I'm more of like this like if you make the blade, you own the blade. It is a part of you. So it's like a blade is an extension of yourself. So you put your own style when you create your blade because I made mine, and like to think of myself as a sword fighter and such as I said. So I always think that my sword beast is an extension of myself. So like if it breaks, then a part of me breaks. Like that's the way I think of it because I put my own soul, like as many artists do, like how an author might put his own personalization into his own book, or a game creator does the same for an RPG or a video game or anything like that, or even a song artist. Like same thing that goes for Smiths. You put your own soul into it, you put your own style, you put your heart into it. So it's yours. It's a part of you. It's an extension of your will.
Yeah,
So that's the way I think of it. It's not like as a disposable weapon. Maybe if it's not your own blade, but if it's a blade you made, then it's definitely not a disposable weapon. It's a part of you, so you like it. You should always keep it close to you. That's why I like the samurai and such because a lot of them made their own blades, which meant they always kept it sacred. They even slept with their own blades, which is really cool. Like I don't mean like in the mating kind of way, but like it was in their bed.
yeah, I understand that, and I also like blacksmithing, but I haven't really gotten into it. But for me, ah, all right, I'm of partial German descent, so I'm like really, uh, let me say, analytical, and I analytical and uh, the purpose, and I hang out with a lot of purpose-driven fighter guys. And it's like, okay, my purpose is to end this fight as quickly and efficiently as I possibly
Yeah.
can. If my blade gets damaged within that, or if someone attacks me and my blade gets damaged, my purpose is to get out of there alive.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. That's the Dark Souls way of it, otherwise known as European warfare. That's not really my style. Literally, like trying to dodge every attack. What I want to do is I want to have like an artistic form where it not only looks cool, but it saves your ass because one of my favorite samurais actually wrote a book on sword fighting, and parrying, and all sorts of things like that. Miyamoto Musashi.
Book of the Five
He was
Rings.
yeah, I have that myself. It's a tremendous, great book. I love it. Like I read it to myself like every year. Like it's kind of like a ritual. Some like veterans would watch Band of Brothers every year. I read Book of Five Rings every year. It's a fantastic book, and I've used a lot of these styles myself. So it carries on throughout.
Yeah.
And much like The Art of War by Sun Tzu, it carries on not only in sword fighting and in warfare, but it carries on to real life. You can apply these skills to real life, like in different variations and forms. Even so, let's say sports, coding, even the simplest things, working at your job, anything. As that's the great thing. Even grocery shopping for some reason. You could do that, applying your makeup, anything. You can apply it.
Yeah. Those are great books. You should, anyone who's listening, whenever you listen to this, you should get those books and read them. I need to get those books and read them, among other things.
Yeah, my mother has like this humongous library, or I wouldn't say a library. We have bookshelves full of books. So, like, she had The Art of War to begin with, but it was actually my grade 9 English teacher that gave me the Book of Five Rings. I had no idea of its existence before she had introduced it to me because I was already into samurai and such. I was into the Japanese culture. So she was like, "Oh, you might like this because this is done by a famous samurai who literally teaches you how to sword fight." I was like, "Okay." So I looked into that. It's
Interesting.
a fantastic book.
Yeah. Well, after that huge digression, uh, we should probably get to. Ooh, have you seen ads for Honor?
I think so. On like some unimportant sites. Why?
What's your opinion on them?
Um, I don't know. Like I only saw the logo. Like it didn't show me any gameplay. It didn't show me any characters or any art. It literally just showed me the logo.
Oh, okay.
I don't
I
know
can.
anything on it. So it's like I just see it's like, oh, Ferrano, okay, that's a thing. I'm not gonna look into it because it doesn't catch my interest. The text does not catch my interest.
Okay,
Like
so
like the font for Game of Thrones that catches my attention, but the font for this it didn't do it.
all right, I'm gonna. I've only seen a couple instances of the gameplay, and it looks really fun, especially from a HEMA standpoint.
I'll check it out. Don't worry.
But I'll say a little bit about it here, then we can maybe discuss that a bit. It's set in an unrealistic setting with realistic parts to it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I understand it completely.
Okay, there's a warlord called Napoleon or something like that who's threatening the world. Yeah, and
Original.
there are three sides you can take to fight against each other and against this shadowy overlord: Vikings, samurai, and knights.
That sounds cool as hell.
I know, especially since the guy said he started developing it after he got into German longsword.
No, no way. Well,
Yeah,
the
and
cool thing is I have descent from both like Japan, and it's very, 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 very distant. I have a lot of European background, and I've got a lot of Viking background. So
mhm.
it's like, okay, I've got a lot of Norwegian blood all over Europe, and small, small roots in Japan. So it's like I'm a part of all of these cultures, so they all appeal to me. This is so cool. Like I gotta check this out now.
Yeah, just to let you know, apparently they picked us to be the perfect co-host because I too am such a mongrel that I have Norwegian, Polish, English, Saxon. The list goes on. I'm related to a crapload of people in Europe, and in one line, a crapload of kind of people who probably just waged war across the entire continent of Europe. So,
That's not bad. One of my mother's maiden name actually is not only starred in a show by James Patterson called Zoo, which is the maiden's last name is Tuznia, but not only that, but it's actually a very ancient royal bloodline in France. Like it had the crown for maybe like a generation, but it was mostly lords, big nobles. Like our big thing was silver, so like I have really big backgrounds, especially in Scotland.
Nice.
Really cool. Yeah.
Measuring
Well,
contest time. One line goes back to Charlemagne.
that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought
We'll
so.
we'll have to check. We'll have to talk about this afterwards because like we don't want to burn through this
Yeah.
awesome
Anyway, okay.
podcast.
All right. Anyway, back to For Honor. The right. It sounds like kind of complicated fighting styles because you are. Uh, it looks like there's 4-on-4 matches, but you have AI to aid you in your combat, and you can choose one of the three sides: Viking, Samurai, Knight. But you lock onto your opponent. And it's kind of duel-like. Once you lock on, the right thumbstick is your guard position. Like
That's cool.
if you go on the right, your guy puts the sword on the right, or you go on the left, the guy puts the sword on the left, or you go in the front, at least in the European, the night one that they had, it goes into what Fiore de Liberi guard set known as Posta de Finestra, or guard of the window, where you got the like Mace Windu guards with the
That's
lightsabers
cool.
pointing straight out. And then they showed some of the gameplay, and one of the commentators like, and there's this one part where the guy kind of looks like he grabs the blade of his sword or something, and that's kind of cool looking. And I'm sitting here like, that's called a murder stroke. That's what they did. It was common. Yes, they actually grabbed the blade. Come on, man.
Yes, like this isn't like I always did that when I fought. I mean, I didn't always do it like for the sake of role playing when I like sword fight with my sis because like Jedi versus Sith. So we couldn't really touch blades, but like when it was like actual sparring with like wooden swords and such with my friends and such, I would always grab their blade and like disarm them.
Well, no, it wasn't just grabbing the opponent's blade; it's also grabbing your own and using it like a bloody mace.
Yeah, like the pommel as a blunt. Usually, what I do is like I kind of just knock them down and get on top, and then kind of just thrust it in like a knife.
Yeah, that was some of the techniques that were taught, but
Yeah.
way back when. Anyway, moving on from that again. Uh, where were we? They also have the samurai, and you can kind of gauge your the guys was talking about. You can gauge your strikes a bit more. This was with primarily the European style, so that if you just only do stabs, you're not going to do a lot. So you have to switch up between cuts and stabbing. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, but this is armored fighting. Stabbing through the little gaps is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Why are you avoiding this?
I love that, like those uncultured people who did like, oh wow, this is a thing, and like there's people who literally are experts on this. Yes, you freaking moron.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not an expert, but I know enough. Just like, yes, we know this. Why don't you?
yeah. It was literally taught in like what grade school, like high school.
For
I
me,
know that I learned it, but my education's a lot different from what goes on down there. So
yeah, well, I was homeschooled, and I just started learning about the stuff from.
oh, did you really? Oh, okay, that's not bad.
I started learning the stuff on my own. Um, I first found the manuals 6 or so years ago, and only recently did I find a good place where you get free ones, so you can actually read like translations of the text and the
That's
descriptions of
cool.
it. So
That's
yeah,
cool as hell.
I'll send you a link to that afterwards. Otherwise,
Okay.
this will
Like you
go.
don't even have to send the translated. I'll probably understand the writing itself. But if you want to send the translated, go for it. If you don't want to send the translated and send me the original, I'll have a little field day with some codecs. Keep me busy.
I'll send you the two places I found. One just has primarily pictures and like translations and some of the transliterations, and the other one is like a wiki, and it has uh, the it has English translation by like the for Fiore, the Italian translation.
Okay, I can read Italian as well, so that's no big deal.
All right. So anyway, other than For Honor looking like it would be quite interesting for people who are into actual fighting and the study
Woohoo!
thereof. Um, it seems to be an interesting mechanic because it's kind of like Halo. I'm gonna say, where you have to
Yeah.
capture objectives and you fight a certain number of people, but only you have AI, which is more Call of the more Black Ops Call of Duty thing. Only it's more even.
What you really just what you just said, you could literally just say it's Battlefield.
Yeah, I haven't played Battlefield, and I
Oh,
haven't
you
really
haven't?
seen. I haven't seen. I want to. I want to, but my systems and stuff, I can't run Battlefield. I don't know if I can run it on this computer, nor do I have anything to play it on other than this computer.
Well,
It's
later
like
on, I'll give a small review of the 4 games that I own of Battlefield if you want.
that's
With
fine.
the
We're also probably going to get to a little bit of Battlefield One. Talk about that.
woo.
Yeah. Anyway, um, maybe we should move on to that now because that's pretty much all we have for Honored.
All right. So, do you want me to just go into the game talk?
Let's just go into the game talk full force.
Okay. So, all right, kids, let's move up the ages. All right, so I'm gonna start with Bad Company, the Battlefield Bad Company. I'm gonna work my way up to Battlefield One. That cool?
Now that's fine.
All right, so Bad Company was one of. I'm not gonna say it's the original game because I don't know how big the timeline is. I play Bad Company, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 and 4, and I hate Hardline, and I'll go into why. But Bad Company was set, I think, must have been the Cold War or something. Like it's a fictional universe, of course, but it's the great thing about it was made this by this Frostbite engine, which had it means you can screw around with the environment as you please. So if you mortar a spot, it's going to have a big hole. If you shoot by a tree, instead of every other game where it literally does nothing, the tree falls over. And you could actually kill your enemies like that. Or, like you want to send an RPG at a building, the building will freaking tear apart, walls will come down. Like they've perfected that in Battlefield 4. Literally, like if you take out the supports, the building will crumble. They didn't exactly have that in Bad Company, but of course they were just in a production, and it was their first time using it, I'm gonna guess. So, like by Bad Company, like the advertising, all new engine, Frostbite. You can now destroy your environment. So it must have been new.
Hmm.
But anyways, it's a fantastic game. I recommend it. It's the graphics aren't great. The first person view isn't great. But you also the throwing of grenades is kind of awkward because it's not really you don't really throw grenades. It's a part of the gun. Whereas like some guns have the attachments of a grenade launcher. That's what that was. And it's a fantastic game. I'm not even fully done it. Then we can move on to Battlefield 2. I know that was made in 2010. It's a fantastic game. The graphics in that one are not bad at all, I definitely would say. The guys at DICE and EA definitely put their best into it, and I'm very proud of them. The freaking it goes through the ages because it went from World War II to Cold War, which is really really cool. Um, and with World War II, they had the stuff on point. I loved the secret warfare with the Japanese and the squadron. I loved the Cold War bit. Like even like the engine itself had evolved a lot, and the guns were a lot more detailed. Just a lot to love about it. And the multiplayer was just fantastic. Then we can move on to Battlefield 3. I'm pretty sure that was a 2011 game. That game has a fantastic multiplayer. All these games are military based. Let me say. So Battlefield 3 is it had a fantastic campaign that was pretty close to the actual thing that's out there overseas. Now I wouldn't exactly know because I don't go overseas, but I do know that a lot of my veteran friends say that it is really close to the actual thing. The multiplayer is certainly not, but the great thing about Battlefield and all the games is unlike Call of Duty where everyone's in a super close map and snipers are next to useless, Battlefield has a large environment. So you could literally just snipe a guy that's like maybe let's say 500 meters away. That's really cool. Like I like having a diverse environment where there's different add-ons and stuff into it, and it's just a lot more opportunity to get stuff done, and a lot more for stealth and recon guys like me because I'm a sniper. So, like, I like that sort of thing. In Battlefield 3, they had that fantastically done because, like, the tanks were done well, the planes were done well. I suck at planes, anyways, but they were done well. I don't like the mechanics for the flying. It sucks. It sucked in a 4 as well. Um, but Battlefield 3 is really, really awesome. The campaign, like I said, it's phenomenal. Then I'm pretty sure that Battlefield 4 was a 2014 game, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 2013. I don't remember. But Battlefield 4 was done with Frostbite 3, because there's 3 versions, I'm going to guess. And that's where they really perfected the destruction. And the multiplayer for that is definitely not anywhere near the actual real thing. Campaign wasn't as realistic, but I still loved the game because of the effects and how much work was put into the environments and such. I liked feeling that I was in an actual battlefield. Like, they really perfected that. And I really felt that I had to shoot the Germans, shoot the Chinese, all that sort of thing, because you're against the Chinese and Russians. So it's really, it's fantastic. That's all I can say. You have to play it for yourself to really understand and really feel like you're part of the battlefield. What I wish is that it was a little more scary, and so it's like, because the battlefield's a lot more scarier than what Battlefield portrays, and Battlefield's literally about, you guessed it, the battlefield. So
There,
yeah,
there was
and
a game, I forget exactly what it was called, but it was set in Fallujah, and it had crappy graphics because I think it was set out early 2000s, and it didn't do well because it was actually more of a horror setting, but it was extremely realistic in how it was when they were clearing the buildings and stuff in Fallujah for
oh, that's
American
cool.
troops.
Like, I'm not a graphics Nazi. I still play lots of games from back in the day. Like, I still love SOCOM. The old PS2 SOCOMs, they were fantastic.
I
And they have a lot of stuff. Like, when it comes to military sims, they do a really good job. And I absolutely love playing those games. Even like the earlier Call of Duty, I hate the new stuff, but I like the earlier. Of course, not as much effects. Like, graphics aren't great, but I don't care about graphics. It was scary. Like, it was like an actual battleground. Like, I want to feel scared when I'm on the battlefield. Battlefields 4 and like didn't exactly illustrate that. Battlefield 3 a little bit more, but yeah. And then we can move on to Battlefield Hardline. um but that's police and criminals and such, and like kidnaps. Really what it was is a knockoff of Rainbow Six in
I,
its own way.
I
And
remember reading about it, and I think they said they based it off of the television show 24.
yeah, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, I just didn't like it. It's not a military sim. Battlefield's supposed to be about a military sim. Like, what the hell? But
And
I could go on hours explaining why I hated the game. Like, it still had fantastic graphics, fantastic physics. Don't get me wrong; they put a lot of good works in the effects and such. But it's just, it doesn't fit the theme that Battlefield portrays, which they are really coming back with Battlefield 1. But I know you have a little point there, so I'll let you interject there.
at Battlefield 1, well, I for one, I'm a military history buff. Not as well versed in World War One as I should be, but I've been watching several of the graphic or not graphics, several of the different play styles, the different classes you can be in Battlefield One, and I gotta say I enjoyed it. I don't really like the support class that they have there with the Lewis gun, the machine gunner.
Yeah, look, they do put a lot of work. I mean, I've seen some videos explaining the errors in Battlefield 1, but I'm going to get a little into that a little later. But what I like about Battlefield 1 is there's not really a lot of games on World War 1. Like,
Hmm.
the only one that I know is a plane simulator called Warbird's Red Baron. And I play that all the time. It's a fantastic game, but you can't really play without a joystick because it's awkward. But it's like a plain joystick, the one that kind of connects
Yeah.
to the computer. You've seen those old stuff?
I still have one of those around here somewhere.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I love them. Like, I have to borrow my Pepe's though because I don't own my own. But I'm a air cadet, so I'm very patriotic. So it's like, oh yeah, we did this, which is as a Canadian, like I try to illustrate the certain importances that Canada actually showed for the wars and such, because not a lot of people look at Canada when it comes to wars, because you think, oh, you're just a bunch of uh, polar bear riders, eh? So it's like, okay, well, I actually want to illustrate the importances that we actually had. We had a lot of importances in World War One, including like fun fact, the last person that died in World War One was actually Canadian.
Hmm.
So we all these cool facts and such. Like I could go on for hours, but I'm not gonna.
Cough,
But
cough, Passchendaele.
yeah, sorry, I'm super patriotic when it comes to that. But of course, as a cadet should be, we are patriotic, and I'm very into military history, as you are. So when it comes to World War One, I don't know much about it because there's not a lot of records. I know there's this book called When Your Number's Up, which is another Canadian book, and it actually illustrates the letters and the diaries that the soldiers actually had, and it really illustrates it well because it shows actual samples. And I was terrified by what it said because, like, that's scary. Like, the one dude got trench foot and had to, like, bash his own friend's face in just so he didn't have to suffer from the mustard gas. That's
Yeah.
horrifying, man. You have to kill your own best friend like that. Damn, like it did a fantastic job of illustrating World War One. So I know a little bit on it, but there's this I forget what it's called, the Great War Channel on YouTube. They do a lot of stuff on World War One, and it went through all the eras of Battlefield One, like some of the equipment, some of the uniforms that were not in place, and all sorts of things like that. But I can't wait because not a lot of games have done World War One, so this is going to be a first. And unlike freaking Call of Duty, which is
Sure.
failing as they go further into the future, they're going back in time because Call of Duty was successful when they had their World War II sims. We want to see wars that happened in the past. Like that, this interests us. Our own history interests us, and a lot of people are getting back into the history of World War One just because of Battlefield One, because Battlefield's a big name, and because of Battlefield One, how it's going back into our own history, a great war that was one of our bloodiest in modern history. That means a lot to us. So we're going back in time. This is really, really interesting. It's a breakthrough, and I can't wait to see how it goes because the graphics and the physics, especially with the Frostbite 3 engine, of course they've gotten a lot better. Like as you saw in the first trailer, that plane went through that building like nothing. And I never crashed a plane into a building in Battlefield 4 before. I should try this out now that I think of it. But I never like saw a plane go through something like that. So it's really interesting to see how the physics go in that game because it really gave a lot of hints for how the physics go and how like the actual logic goes and like the ballistics and all that. Like they put all of that into effect in Battlefield, unlike Call of Duty. So like I can't wait to see this game come out. I've seen both gameplay trailers. I've seen a Snoop Dogg play it, which was really funny. Like it literally, like one of the dude is like, "Dude, you didn't kill anybody." And sometimes it's just about the team, man. Sometimes it's just about the team. Snoop's pretty cool, but like I just because of that, I'm gonna break out of the PG another time. I had a nerdgasm. That's really what it was. I had a nerdgasm. So it was fantastic. Literally, like I was like, "Oh my god!" And like I can't wait till it comes out. I'm still a little saddened that I don't have a system to support that. Because I don't have a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One or a really good PC. I just got a piece of crap Windows 7 that's really, really outdated. I mean, I wouldn't say outdated,
Oh,
but it was made 9 years ago actually.
I
So,
have in front of me about 2 feet ahead Windows 98 shell with XP
oh my god,
uploaded on it.
wow, you're doing wow, wow.
I
Okay,
got
maybe I shouldn't be so ungrateful because I am very grateful for my piece of crap. It does, work on my programming just right because I'm making a game as I had mentioned earlier. So like, it works. It's a piece of crap and it's laggy, but it's better than nothing, and I'm very proud of my piece of crap.
yeah.
So
We got
I'm very grateful, and it's actually my sister's hand me down. That's how I know it's 9 years old.
ah,
Yeah, because she got a new computer. Money's tight here, so it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting a new computer. We can't buy you new ones. So I take my old one because it still works perfectly. So I was like, okay, and I'm very happy with it.
This thing still turns on. I still like using the old Windows Microsoft Word. It doesn't cost anything. I know where all the stuff is. It still works. It's still viable.
Yeah,
It just can't connect to the internet without a
yeah.
dial-up modem.
Yeah, I got the entire Microsoft Office full thing, because my school is one of the supporting partners of it, so I get it for free off of my school board site, and I get to
Nice.
keep it as long as I want. So it's like, yeah, it's cool to be a student.
I'm never giving this back. Anyway, I'm
Yeah,
looking
never
at you.
giving this back. Oh God, no! I put a lot of my work on it, like my scripts and such for
Mm.
my novel that's up and coming, and my scripts for my game. I put it all in Microsoft Word. So
Well, I'm going to
yeah,
diverge onto Battlefield 1, and some of the things that I found really, really annoying with some of the gameplay was that, all right, there was two ones that I watched that I actually thought would be really cool to play as, which was the Assault class and the Sniper class, which was dude with submachine guns, anti-tank rifle, and anti-tank grenade. And what really irked me was that the guys kept referring to it to as an anti-tank rocket launcher. It's a large bore recoilless rifle that'll probably kick your shoulder like a mule.
oh God, yeah. If normal sniper rifles do that, and I know they do, then that would just hurt. Your entire shoulder must be bruised.
You have to use a bipod with it, and it looks like it's a 20 millimeter cannon with a shoulder stock.
Damn.
Yeah, it
Like, I
made
haven't seen the actual gameplay. People who've gone through the demos and such. I have not seen it yet. I just saw a little preview of some guy playing as the assault class, playing with one of the assault rifles and such. Like, I didn't really see much, so I gotta check more into it. I'm very interested in it, but I haven't seen it yet. On that.
Yeah. Anyway, then they had a couple of like the experimental submachine guns at the time, which weren't as popular. You have one with like this drum magazine that feeds in from the side, and another one where one guy says they just stuck a clip right down so that it's right in my field of view because it's sticking up out of the top. I'm thinking, dude, that's a magazine. That's not a
Yeah.
clip.
Yeah, it's called a magazine. Literally, why does everyone think that it's a clip? It's not a clip. That's just a really bad gangster slang version of what it is.
You know what's
Like,
really funny? They had one sniper rifle. I think it was a lever action. One of the they called it mid range ones. That's what the
oh
guy
God,
theorized what the sniper rifle was because it didn't have any optics on it. And the dude puts a stripper clip in there, shoves
oh
down
my
the
God.
bullets, flicks it out, and the guy says, "And I have a 7-shot magazine." It's like, dude, you literally have what is referred to as a clip, and you call it a magazine? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, see, I grew up with this terminology because I have a very large military background. So I do know a lot about this. Like nothing major when it comes to large military. Like all the major are gone now. So like not alive anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like I do know a lot of people that are high up, but like, I have like I said, a large background when it comes to that sort of thing. So I grew up with the terminology. I grew up knowing this sort of thing, and I kind of expect everyone else to know it. So it's like, wait, you didn't know? So it's weird.
Yeah,
It's
it.
kind of like how math geniuses think that everyone's a math genius.
Mm.
Like they don't understand that it's not everyone is a math genius, but they still think it.
Yeah, I sometimes I'm not a math genius, but sometimes I feel it's like, oh yes, this is not common knowledge for whatever something is, and I have to remember that, and I have to tone it down a little bit. As my friend Cheyenne, you never met her, no, well, you probably will. He says, "Can you
That's
put it as simple as possible?" I said, "Pointy end, go this way." He says, "Yes." Now you speak Cheyenne. It's like. Okay, I have to remember that a lot of people are like this. It's not.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but one of the things that really got me was that the old rifles that they had for the distance shots for the snipers, and also the SMGs had bayonets on them,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, while in reality, sticking that bayonet into someone isn't going to immediately kill them, but it's still another option you can use.
Well,
And
really, they also have that wrong as well because you don't stick the bayonet on when you're shooting because the bayonet actually screws up the firing. Like I
yeah,
don't like there was back in 1812 as well. I did a little research on that war as well, but not as much. But it's like with that, like the bayonet always screws up the accuracy, so you always have to pull it off until you're out of ammo. Because once you're out of ammo, that piece of crap is useless. So you just stick the bayonet on there and you stick the guy next to you who's probably a German
yeah,
or any other Axis.
yeah. Anyway, going on from that, they had I don't know what model it was, but they had a guy with a bolt action. He was playing the sniper class. It had a very crude offset optic
Oh
for a
God.
for a scope, yeah, which wasn't as bad as the offset irons for the top loading one. But this guy apparently gets. He says the guy was shouting from whatever one. It really annoyed me either way. He said you don't want to be a sniper class and get up close because So
Yeah.
this guy is like jumping over uh, a wall at the guy. The guy fires, and as he's working the bolt, he starts backpedaling like nobody's business. And I'm thinking, you have a bayonet on the end of this rifle, and you're
Yeah.
retreating. The guy knows from all the other gaming experience that everyone's going to be doing the backpedal because they're trying to reload or they're trying to do something and they're
Yeah.
panicking. They're going back. He's going to chase you, weird him the hell out, and charge him in the face and stick your blade there. That's what you're supposed to do. This is a
Yeah.
bayonet. It's a spear. Use it.
Well, also with like the sniper class, snipers to begin with are supposed to be far off unless they're doing reconnaissance and they're not with a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, then they're far off and they're shooting in the distance. And if their sniper is out of ammo, they'll just switch to their secondary. So pulled out some crude handgun or some crap. You go up to the guy and who's probably close range if you're like not even like trench out, and you just shoot him.
Yeah. It's like,
And
okay,
if not,
why are you panicking with this bolt action? The
well,
whole thing is a
yeah,
weapon, especially since it's made out of metal and steel.
yeah. Well, he's not even supposed to be that close in the first place. He should have thought of
True.
that before. Like when I'm a sniper in any of my games, I know for sure stay the hell away from anyone else unless I'm using the assault class, and the assault class on my thing sucks because
Yeah,
I've been leveling up my sniper because I'm a sniper.
yeah. My exploits in War Thunder are kind of different. I mainly use the M18 anti tank or tank destroyer motor carriage,
Yeah,
and it has a very good range on it, and it has a lot of penetrative armor abilities up close.
yeah,
And my friend says you treat everything like a close-in weapon. The
yeah.
reason why
Well,
I the reason why I use the M18 as a close-in weapon is because at close range it can go through the explosive shell can go through 127 millimeters of armor.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand is like, everything should be a close-in weapon because to begin with, as much as people think that it was more bullets flying than anything, it was actually more close combat than anything besides the chemical warfare.
Oh yeah,
Was a thing to begin with, but really, most of the time, it was like any other ancient battle where you're literally charging at your enemy with some big pointy stick and you stab it into the dude so you can stay alive. That's the way it works.
yeah. They
It's
brought
not
they
like
brought back
it's
the
not like
maces.
Afghanistan where you shoot the dude from like super far away. No, you're up and close and personal, which is not the same with the sniper because the sniper has to be far away, but he's an exception.
Yeah, it's like they brought back the mace from the medieval time. You had the Trunch Club, and what I was
Yeah,
they show several times they have people being killed with e-tools, which
yeah.
is awesome. But
I actually used in one of my old games, Far Cry 3. That's one of my favorite shooters. I used a blowtorch to take down a online dude. It was fun.
nice. I tried that out with my cousin's 360 as well. But
Sorry, I gotta kick it this in because it's my Canadian pride. That was made in Canada.
Yay!
Hoorah! Sorry.
Yay!
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like not a lot of games are made in Canada, so those like games that are made in Canada, which are a lot of Electronic Arts games and a lot of Ubisoft games, like Assassin's Creed, that's all made in Canada. The Far Cry series, all made in Canada. So it's like when I know these games are made here, like the Mass Effect series was also Canadian. If you'll believe me, like it's made in Canada, so it's like I know a lot of games aren't really done. And when you play a game like Skyrim, you already know it's made in America. But when it's some place like literally a couple hours away and it was made in a couple hours away, you're like, crap, this is freaking awesome. You get a little bit of a pride. You put a little more of an appreciation into it when you know it's close to home.
yeah, dude, you send us all your actors. It's like all my favorite actors are from Canada.
Dude, Michael Mondo, that's my favorite because he did Voss. He's now playing he's playing a new villain in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he also plays Nacho in Better Call Saul. Dude, he's my favorite. Not to mention he's straight out gorgeous. I don't care if he says anything. He's straight out gorgeous. But he's a fantastic actor. He plays the best bad guy. Literally, the first time I played Far Cry 3, I was 11, and I'm gonna jump out of the PG once again. I'm so sorry. For the first time I saw him do the intimidating look in the cage, I actually shat myself. No joke. Like there was a stain in my underwear, and I had to change a set of clothes because he was terrifying to 11-year-old me, which was like 4 years ago. So
No, man. Anyway, where were we? We were in Battlefield 1.
yeah.
The old style tanks are awesome. I mostly World War II tanks, especially with War Thunder, because
Woo-woo!
yeah, because they're awesome, and everyone hates the Russian bias.
Yeah.
Supposedly, that's in there.
Hey, Russians are cool. Russians are cool. They have a really good military, but some people just don't like the way their national system works, and they just kind of base it on that.
Well,
Russians
no,
are really
they
cool.
don't like the people in War Thunder don't like the Russian tanks because they view them as overpowered and
Well, they
too
really
easy
are
to run.
because they know how to work a gun. They know how to work a real good rifle.
Yeah, but in War
Their weapons are awesome.
all vehicle combat. You still there?
Even their nukes are terrifying.
Oh, yes. Anyway, the introduction of the Zeppelin, they call it the Behemoth, the
Oh.
giant Goodyear blimp with
Yeah.
bombs and machine guns. That seems to be a game changer because they say that it only spawns for the losing side. So you might think you're about to win, and all of a sudden this giant deadly blimp comes out of nowhere to aid your opponents. I think that would be quite an interesting
Yeah, it changed
aspect.
the game. However, what I don't like about that is I don't really know. As I said, I've read a couple books on World War One. I'm not an expert, but what I did think is I didn't think that Zeppelins were used for warfare until like maybe World War Two, and even then, because they still weren't built to deal with like gunfire, like because if you remember one of the greatest accidents with the Zeppelin, where it literally burned up in the atmosphere because the smoking room and the smoke got into the side, and like the what was it, hydrogen or helium, I forget. I think it was helium, and it blew up the entire thing and everyone died because they're really not that protected. So I don't really understand, like maybe they were used back in World War One as actual warfare things. I'm not fully sure, but I was under the impression that they weren't.
Well, they
So
used
I
hot
don't
air
know.
balloons.
No, they're not air balloons, but
No,
I'm
they
pretty
used hot
sure.
air balloons, so a Zeppelin isn't too far of a jump.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. It's. I was under the impression that way. I'll have to do more research.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, what else was there? There is. Hopefully, we'll be able to get, in addition to our lowly. Um,
I don't say it's lonely. It's a pretty good thing. We've talked a good long about some stuff that may or not have been a little bit irrelevant to the actual gaming, but I think we've gotten a lot done here.
oh yeah, I meant not lonely. I said our lowly opinions of such things as Battlefield, we may try to get some people who've actually played some of the alpha and beta interpretations, if they ever respond, and we might get a few people who've played Division on here
I
before it.
wait. Tom Clancy's Division.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna break into this again. Another game made in Canada.
Oh, God. This is gonna
I'm
be a
sorry.
full.
I'm sorry. Like it's because not a lot of stuff is made here. It's like it's more appreciated here.
Okay, yeah, I get it, man. It's
We've only
Canadian
got like
pride.
34. We got only like 34 million people. You guys have like tons and tons of people. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a thing that was made by like a couple lowly people in the cold. Okay, that's pretty cool. Like you gotta have a little more appreciation for that. Hey, I know that dude. Like, sorry, it's a thing. I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Anyway, we might get some people in to discuss the Division at some point in the future. Hopefully, Kieran
Yes, there you go.
Kieran will be joining us on the regular since he is the new co-host. Uh, other than other than that, we should probably wrap it up. It's been about an hour before we get to where you can find us online. A friend of mine has on Kickstarter and several other things an RPG card game, and right now it's currently just producing decks with the characters on it for like regular playing cards. It's called Kingdoms of Erden, Erden, and if you're military, Echo Romeo Delta Echo November. Yeah, you can check it out. It's on Facebook, and the dude makes it really great guide. The interesting thing about it is that all the characters have the face of a real person.
Oh,
So
that's
like
cool.
the Major King, the Blue King, I forgot what's his name because it's been a while since he asked me to take a look at it and try doing some writing for it. Is his face. Like the Queen is his wife. The adversarial king against him, of the king of the red side, is his brother and his brother's wife. And even one of my best friends has his face in there, and he also asked for my face in there. So if you want to look at my ugly mug on a playing card or several other medium whenever he comes out with that, because he needs funding. Come on, spread the love, man. You can do that. I don't know whose body they slap my face on, but it should be good. It's an interesting concept. Maybe I'll talk about it later, but you can check it out on Facebook. And Kieran, where can they find you?
Okay, so I won't release too much personal information because that's not cool. I won't send off my Twitter because I don't have a secondary Twitter account. But what I will say is I am a part of TGR, so Galactic Roundtable. You can find me as the Legends Kid because I talk all about the expanded universe. I also own a Facebook page called the Ultimate Sith Empire. You can go ahead and check that out and give it a like. We now have over 1,000 likes, which happened in January, I believe. You can also find me up as the Cool Cuds Play, which is on YouTube. I have almost 60 subscribers now. I try my best, guys. It's not the best stuff you'll ever see on YouTube, but go ahead and give me a like and such because some of my quality isn't too bad. Just don't mind my Star Wars rants. I was young.
Was.
And I only keep them up because they're popular and a lot of people like to hate on them. So I keep them up so it gets me views. That's the only reason they're still up there, and because I still find myself entertaining. Narcissism. Where can they find you?
All right, you can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on Twitter at Gent the Irreverend, no T. On Facebook, you can find me at my personal blog page, which is The Irreverent Gentleman. You can also find me on Diary of a Sith Chick and its related pages, which are DSC Jedi Archive and Fet's Locker. I'm an admin at Goran on there. You can also find me on Dear Diary or Order 66 Revenge the Diary as at Goran again, which is every other Thursday, which we be on Thursday this week, which if you're listening to this later does not matter. You can also find me on WordPress at the Gentleman's University of Manly.wordpress.com. Check out some of our articles. We have good information there, mainly for free, but you can also get tutoring if you're interested. And what else? Where else can you find me other than Twitter, that, Facebook? No, you can. That's pretty much it. So, without further ado, I am your humble host, the Dungeon Master of Gamer's Tale, and with me was Kieran. Damn it, your name is hard.
It's Kieran.
Kieran.
Yeah, my mother didn't love me. She wanted to give me an Irish Gaelic name. Hey, let's make this kid's life horrible. On the bright side, I'm named after a famous actor who played Mance Rayder in Game of Thrones and played Caesar in Rome. So I'm cool with that.
All right. So, other than overly sharing our personal lives on this entire podcast, we will see you next week, roughly the same time if you're listening live, which we have no viewers, so it doesn't matter. And we bid you adieu.